I am Rabyasana from Department of Chemistry. Today my presentation topic is food security chemistry. Now we see contents of my presentation. Here are the contents. First of all, we see food security, then role of chemistry, chemistry as backbone, hunger and food security, pillars of food chemistry, food availability, food access, food utilization, food stability, chart, fortification of food, medicinal chemistry, role of mycorrhiza and climate change. Next we see food security. What is food security? In this slide we see what is food security. All people at all time have social, economic and physical access to sufficient, safe and nutritious food that meets their dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life. Besides, according to the Sustainable Development Goals, established by the United Nations, one of the SDGs emphasized the importance of achieving the goal of end hunger, achieve food security, and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. Targets in this goal include ending hunger and malnutrition, increasing the income and productivity of small scale farmers, maintaining genetic diversity, and developing sustainable and resilient agriculture production systems and practices. Here we see role of chemistry in food security. Food secure chemistry play a major role in food security. There is a direct correlation between population growth and food demand. And as the global population continues to rise, there is a need to scale up food production to meet the food demand of the population. In addition, the arable land over time has lost its natural endowed nutrition. Hence, alternative measures such as fertilizers, pesticides, and herbicides are used to fortify the soil and scale up the production rate. As efforts are being made to meet this food demand and ensure food security, it is equally important to ensure food safety for consumption. Food safety measures need to be put in place throughout the food production chain lines. One of the fundamental measures is the use of biofertilizers or plant growth promote instead of chemical or synthesized fertilizers, pesticides, and herbicides that pose several dangers to human and animal health. Biofertilizers competitively colonize plant root system, which in turn enhance nutrient uptake, increase productivity and crop yield, improve plants' tolerance to stress and their resistance to pathogens, and improve plant growth through mechanisms such as the mobilization of essential elements, nutrients, and plant growth hormones. Biofertilizers are cost effective and eco friendly in nature, and their continuous usage enhances soil fertility. They also increase crop yield by up to about 10 to 40% by increasing protein contents, essential amino acids, and vitamins, and by nitrogen fixation. This review therefore highlighted different types of biofertilizers and the mechanism by which they elicit their function to enhance crop yield to meet food demand. In addition, the review also addressed the role of microorganisms in promoting plant growth and the various organisms that are beneficial for enhancing plant growth. Next, we see the chemistry is backbone of food. We say chemistry is backbone of food because chemistry play an important role in food production. Chemistry has provided the backbone in understanding the structure, organization, and function of living matter. Biochemistry, in particular, is composed of the structure chemistry of living matter, the metabolism or chemical reaction of those living matters, and the molecular genetics of heredity. The ability of plants to derive energy from sunlight and animals and humans to derive energy from food begins with chemistry and the principle of thermodynamics. And the basic of food itself are made of chemical and biological structure. We all know this. Amino acids, sugar, lipids, nucleotides, vitamins, minerals, and hormones. The chemical elements are key to understanding our modern day food and nutritional need. In the late 18th century, many of the chemical elements had been defined. including nitrogen from ammonia, followed by the discovery of protein in egg, albumin in organic elements, amino acids. The characterization of energy and calorimeter were also critical for the food and nutrition science word and could not have been understood without the usage of physiological chemistry. By studying persons engaged in labor and exercise and amount of heart release, the understanding metabolic, the kilocaloric was defined, the energy needed to raise the temperature of 1 kilogram of water by 1 degree Celsius. At the root of these chemical compounds is food, the backbone of human survival and evolution. Yet today we find the food remain an issue, either too much or not enough. There are some areas where are too much food and there are some areas there is not enough food for the peoples. In the continuing development of human race, here we see hunger and food security. What is hunger? Hunger often goes hand in hand with food security. The concept of food security goes beyond caloric intake and addresses both hunger and undernutrition. There are some areas where people are undernutrition. They don't meet their dietary nutrition, which is important for their nutritional growth. Reducing levels of hunger places the emphasis on the quantity of food and refers to ensuring a minimum caloric intake is met. Conversely, ensuring adequate nutrition refers to a diet's quality. A diet rich in proteins, essential fatty acids, and micronutrients has been proven to improve birth weight, growth, and cognitive development while leading to lower levels of child mortality. A lack of these essential vitamins or minerals often results in hidden hunger, where the signs of malnutrition and hunger are less visible in the immediate sense. Now we see pillars of food security. We divide food security in four pillars. First pillar is known as food availability, then food utilization, third one is access of food, and fourth one is food stability. We describe them number by number. First of all, we see food availability. What is availability? We see in this slide. It is estimated that to meet the population's demand of 2050, a doubling of grain production will be needed. If we have 25 kg in this year, in 2050 we need 50 kg in that year. However, yield increases of the world's cereals have begun to stagnate, and yields in many regions the world suffer from nutrient limitations and lack of access to irrigation. Future production will be further threatened by increased soil degradation, climate change, and the increased volatility of oil production and its impact on fertilizer prices. In many poor rural settings, addressing hunger is inextricably linked to improving soil fertility and crop management. Soil chemistry and application play a critical role in developing soil and crop management practices through enhanced setting of soil process, plant nutrition, fertilizer production, development of improved crop varieties, and methods of controlling pests and disease. Now we see what is food access. Food access involves whether households have the physical and financial resources required to obtain appropriate food for a nutritious diet. This access depends on income available to the household, on the distribution of income within the household, and on the price of food. Access also depends on what happens to the food after production, such as during post harvest storage. In this slide, we see food utilization. This is the third pillar of food security. To have food available and accessible to eat, whether purchased at the market or grown at home, is not the sole solution to food security. A person's body must be in good physical condition in order to properly use the food. This is termed food utilization, the ability to use food efficiently in order to live life to fullest. Focusing on the individual level, food utilization also takes into consideration the biological utilization of food. Biological utilization refers to the ability of the human body to take food and convert it into energy, the energy which we desired for our daily work, either used to undertake daily activities or stored. Utilization requires not only adequate diet but also a healthy physical environment, including safe drinking water, adequate sanitation and hygiene, decreased burden of infectious diseases, and the knowledge and understanding of proper care for oneself, for food preparation and safety. The next and last pillar of our food security is food stability. Food stability is when a population, household, or individual has access to food at all time and does not risk losing access as a consequence of cyclic events such as the dry season. This is a flow sheet diagram of food security. Next, we see fortification of food. What is fortification of food? Food fortification is one of the food based strategies for preventing micronutrient deficiencies. Currently, over 2 billion people globally are deficient in micronutrients, and many of these are women and children. In developing countries, fortification is increasingly recognized as an effective medium and long term and accessible approach to improve the micronutrient status of communities and is considered cost effective. Fortification does not require change in the dietary habits of the population, can often be implemented relatively quickly, and can be sustainable over a long period of time. It is considered one of the most cost effective means of overcoming micronutrient malnutrition. Fortification is the addition of nutrient to commonly eaten foods such as flour, sugar, salt, and cooking oil to increase the consumption of essential micronutrients for health. The food that carries the nutrient is the vehicle. The nutrient added is the fortifier. Fortification of foods is aimed to provide levels of nutrient at normal consumption of a food vehicle. For decades, fortification has been widespread throughout the world. In the US, flour has been fortified, and almost as quarter of iron intakes come from fortified sources, much from flour. Successful fortification vehicles for vitamin A, a common deficiency in the developing world, include sugar, margarine, and oil. For example, in Guatemala, national sugar fortification with vitamin A has eliminated vitamin A deficiency. Iodine Iodization of salt has become the most commonly accepted method of iodine deficiency prophylaxis is the most countries of the world. Its advantages include uniformity of consumption, universal coverage, acceptability, simple technology, and low cost. 60 to 70% of all salt is now iodized. With this combination of technology and chemistry, food fortification is one of the most effective methods to eliminate micronutrient deficiency. Afflicting over 2 million people worldwide, it has been shown to eliminate goiter, rickets, beriberi, and pellagra from the Western world. However, the focus should next to be developing world where many remain hungry and unnourished. Here's the next slide. In this slide, we see improving utilization through modern medicine, the contribution of chemistry to basic medicine. Many of the determinants that impact food utilization are considered long term poverty stricken determinant to poor nutrition. As shown in figure, UNICEF's framework on the determinants of undernutrition, maternal and child care practices which are associated with the situation of women in societies, education, knowledge, income generation, and reproductive practices are at the root of the problem. In improving child feeding practices for young children is also a huge determinant of food utilization and child growth. This starts right at birth with exclusive breastfeed and complementation of milk with food rich in energy and nutrients. Lastly, a robust primary health care system approach must be in place to improve the malnutrition situation and food utilization. Infectious diseases impede dietary intake and utilization, resulting in malnutrition. Next, we see the role of mycorrhiza in food security and the challenge of climate change. Before the Industrial Revolution, the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere was 280 part per billion, and in time increasing fossil fuel use increased carbon dioxide concentration up to 416 parts per million in a present time. Meanwhile, increasing population growth has also uh, started to put serious pressure on soil ecosystem for more food production demand. With the demand for more food production, intensive chemical inputs and soil cultivation practices applied to the soil has increased the amount of carbon dioxide released to the atmosphere. Increasing carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere triggers global warming and climate change, which is negatively affect plant growth and consequently food security. In order to ensure food security under climate change conditions, it seems that the need to reintact nature's own mechanism has arisen. In this context, it is aimed to reduce the effect of climate change by keeping more carbon as a sink by operating the effects of plant root mechanism on the soil health according to ecological principles. Under long-term field conditions, the efforts of different soil plant managements, especially mycorrhizal fungi, were investigated. Since 1996, several researches have been carried out under long-term field studies to see the effect of mycorrhizal fungi and other microorganisms on carbon sequestration, as well as the emission of the carbon dioxide from the greenhouse gases or to the atmosphere. Regularly, carbon dioxide flux emissions, photosynthesis rate, carbon nitrogen sequestration, and yield parameters are measured. Data are yearly evaluated. Results revealed that under long term field conditions, organic fertilizer application and mycorrhizal inoculations sequestered more carbon in soil profile. It has been shown that using animal manure, compost, biochar, nitrogen fixing bacteria, and mycorrhizal fungi significantly kept more carbon in plant tissue and soil. It is determined that there is an increase of 1.5 part per million carbon dioxide concentration in atmosphere per year. It has been determined that especially long-term addition of organic matter and management of natural microbial increase soil organic carbon, and accordingly soil quality and productivity increase. As a effect of climate change and population growth have significant negative impact on food security. Definitely, a new agriculture revolution is needed to overcome of climate and food security problem. Soil and plant management must be managed according to low input ecological principles. Now we see role of fertilization in food security. The number of unnourished people in the world remains unacceptably high at about 925 million. Global food security issues exist now and are especially of concern looking forward, as world population is expected to increase by about 35% over the next 40 years. Agriculture output will need to significantly increase to accommodate the growing population. Most of the increase is expected to come from producing more on existing farmland. Although some of new farmlands will likely to be needed, boosting crop yields and closing the gap between actual and attainable yield can be achieved by the implementation and advancement of numerous practices and technologies, including nutrient management practices and fertilizer technologies. An evaluation of long-term studies has shown that the average percent of yield attributed to fertilizer inputs generally range from about 40 to 60% in temperature climates, and ranging to be much higher in the tropics. All things considered, inorganic fertilizer play a critical role in the world food security, but it must be recognized that highest yields are in some systems the result of using both organic and inorganic nutrient sources. Adopt Adoption of the 4R principle, right nutrient source at the right rate, right time, and right place, help ensure appropriate use of nutrient resources and optimize productivity. Thank you. It's all from my side.